for Pickard specifically and the Oilers, they're going back to him for game one. I feel like they need to. How much should the Oilers trust Calvin Pickard? Like, if he has a bad game one, should the leash be short? Do you think he's earned more than that? What's your viewpoint on Pickard heading into this series?
This is hard. And goaltenders win you series and they win you Stanley Cups. And I've said this all along. You can win a Stanley Cup with average goaltending. And I've said that Anthony Niemi in Chicago, even Darcy Kemper with the Colorado Avalanche was good in that series. He was better as an LA King goaltender this year against Edmonton. He was just okay. You didn't need to make those 5-alarm bell saves. But if you're traditionally going to win the Stanley Cup, your goaltending has to be solid, especially if your team isn't a powerhouse, like the 2000s Colorado Avalanche. This is going to be a concern for Edmonton. Pickard's been good. He's got 4 wins, but when you look at the numbers and you look in a little deeper, it's 3+ goals in 3 of his 4 games. His save percentage is .893. LA is 14th in the NHL in scoring during the regular season. Vegas is 5th. Vegas has more offensive power. They're going to get to the net harder. They're going to get to the blue paint harder. I think Pickard has done exactly what Edmonton needed him to do. He came in and bailed the team out when Skinner was not playing well. Skinner didn't play well a year ago early. We talked about it right on this show going into game 3, and we were wondering who are they going to start. Well, they started Pickard. And now you're in that conundrum now. You have to start Pickard, period. End of story. And you will ride him until he loses. But when he loses, I just feel, and maybe this is wrong, I feel that if Edmonton is going to have a long run, and that's getting into the Western Finals and potentially to the Stanley Cup Finals, they're going to have to do it with Skinner. And I say that because I think Skinner gives the team a little bit more belief long term. I think he's a guy that's been there before. And when Skinner's on his game and playing at his best, he's really tough to beat. And you saw it against Florida last year. When he's bad, he's bad. And unfortunately, they saw the bad Skinner early. I like Calvin Pickard. Calvin Pickard was an Arizona Coyote. He's an amazing teammate. He's an amazing guy to have in the room. He is always positive, and everybody loves playing for him. You've seen how hard Edmonton plays in front of Calvin Pickard. They do. I just don't know if Edmonton wants to get to the promised land and raise the cup, if they're going to be able to do it on the back of Calvin Pickard. I do believe at some point Skinner is going to get the net again for the Edmonton Oilers.
I feel like you're reading my mind a little bit, because my next question for you is going to be, like, you've been in pro locker rooms before and you watch the way the Oilers play in front of Calvin Pickard, and even little things like there was a point in March where Leon Draisaitl, after a win against the Islanders, was just like gushing with praise for how much they love playing for Calvin Pickard. And you saw McDavid after the OT winner dart right down to Calvin Pickard to give him a hug. Is there anything to the idea of teams play differently or harder in front of certain goalies, or is that just something we maybe make up and make to be too big of a deal?
100% reality. Absolutely, for sure it happens. And you're going to see it's those backups, or you call them 1B, whatever you want to call them, that the guys really like. That is a guy that goes and puts in the extra time when practice is done and he stays out to work one-on-one with other guys. He's the guy that's positive. He's upbeat. He's always happy. And you absolutely bet they play harder for that guy. And maybe should or shouldn't. But there are guys, hard to believe if you've heard this too, there are guys in NHL locker rooms that other players don't like. And they don't always like your teammates. It's a thing. And yes, there have been situations where the goalie, you look at him and you go, I'm not your best friend. But those are the guys that compete and can win. I've heard stories about Tom Barrasso as a teammate that maybe not the best teammate of the Pittsburgh Penguins, but you know what? They loved him because he competed and he won. But I do think there is something for blocking a shot. Hey, we're going to do this for Cal. We're going to get in front of the shot. I'm going to block this because he's the kind of guy that would do something for me. Absolutely makes a difference. And I think they played different. And part of it, too, was a wake-up call that they didn't perform well in front of Skinner, that they left him out to dry at times in the first couple of games. And I do think that's, hey, look what we did to Stu. We can't do this to Calvin Pickard. We've got to up our game. And I do think they've played better with him. I just don't know if they can do it for 12 more wins. That's a lot of wins you got to rack up under a guy that just traditionally hasn't put together a string this long and this good against really good competition for this long a period of time.
And you even look back to your point last year with the Oilers, and you talked about Skinner. As much as the lows are so low, do they get past Dallas without how he performs in Game 6 of that series? And I know the empty netters made Game 6 of the Cup final look different, but like, do they even get past Florida in Game 6 of that series? Like, man, there were some moments. Game 7 against Vancouver, like Stuart Skinner had some really, really impressive wins under his resume. And I agree with you that eventually I think they need to go back to him. The question will be, like, if you lose tonight 4-3, is that enough to push it over the edge? And like how that coaching room feels, like where they draw that line is fascinating. Personally, hoping we don't find out that answer. Hoping the Oilers just win a whole bunch of games and Calvin Pickard's 8-0. But again, that's probably not based in reality.
Yeah, but those are where those conversations go inside the coach's room. And that's where playoffs become so interesting, because every coaching decision, and we're talking the line matchups, how we're going to, we spend more time talking about the bottom six than you do the top six. That fourth line winger, you debate, should this guy be in the lineup? Should that guy be in the lineup? You could spend hours on that because you already know who your top line guys are. But the goaltending discussion tonight and through this series is going to be big for Edmonton. And you're right. If this is 4-3 or 3-2 and they come on the losing side in Vegas, by the way, for Edmonton Oilers fans, if they lose game one, it's okay. I think you learned that from previous experience. This is okay. They're playing in Vegas. Like, this first game is going to be a stunner because this is tough. It's tough building in the league to play in, the loud, all those things. So it's going to be okay if you lose the first game. Don't panic. But for the coaching staff, the second the game is over, that is the first question on everybody's mind. And I don't know how the Oilers room works and how much weight the goalie coach's decision has in the final say. It's always the head coach, period. The head coach makes it, but there are some goalie coaches in the National Hockey League that have a lot of pull on what they see and what they feel in practices, what they've seen leading up to that game on making that kind of decision. This is a decision after game one. If Pickard wins, he's going. He will go until he loses. Period. End of story. If he doesn't lose and they raise the cup and he's 116-year-old, he will be the Conn Smythe winner. I'll put that early right now. If they win with Calvin Pickard, he's Conn Smythe. But there will be a decision if they lose, and it will be, how has Stuart Skinner presented himself in practice? How has his attitude been on the ice, on the bench? How has his attitude been in team meetings? Has he been attentive? Has he been on time? And I know those sound so petty, and they sound like such a small detail, but has he been engaged with his teammates? Has he been involved in the game? He's been, and I don't necessarily mean a cheerleader on the bench, but has he been engaged in the games where Pickard has been playing? How has his support been of his teammate? All of those things are going to matter and weigh into that decision on who is the next goaltender in game two. Absolutely. And I still think if they lose 4-3, 3-2, 5-1, I think Skinner's back in.
What's up, Nation citizens? If you like that video, then you need to be subscribed to the Oilers Nation YouTube. Podcasts, live shows, exclusive interviews, and analysis. Everything you need from your favorite voices at Oilers Nation. And you don't want to miss any of it, so hammer that subscribe button.